To know how you balance, two incredibly demanding and difficult careers. So are you taking calls and sending emails while you're on planes? How are you making this happen?
That's exactly what I do. So
Bye, Graham. Thank you, Graham, for joining us. Now, I know there's a good chance that you are here because you saw the incredible multi-hyphenate that we have here on Enter the Popverse today. The founder of Noir Caesar Entertainment, which does comics and multimedia entertainment work, professional basketball player. Please join us again in the traditional Theater Kid round of applause in welcoming to Enter the Popverse, Mr. Johnny O. Bryant. Hi, Johnny. Welcome to Enter the Popverse.
thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
You are our first manga guest, so I give you
Wow.
the crown and thank you for being a part of this with us today.
Oh, really? Thank you. Thank you. I got to make sure it's a lot of pressure, so make sure I live up to it.
There's no pressure because you're setting the gold standard by which everybody else will be measured against
Oh,
today.
perfect, perfect.
So I know that you're like a huge anime and manga fan, and that Toonami was a big part of what brought you into the creating space. So I want to dig a little deeper into that. I want to know, like, what is your comic book origin story? What is your manga origin story? How did you start reading?
Yeah, so I got into anime before manga.
Mhm.
I grew up a big comic book fan. I saw more comics around than manga, and so anime. I kind of got into it just from television. It started with Disney. I think Disney had like a program, like a special hour where they would show. I think it was called JetX back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, JetX, and they would show like Digimon, Beyblade, Pokemon, and so that was kind of like my intro into anime and manga, and from that I started getting into Toonami, which Toonami back in the day they had an anime block that would come on right after school, so it would start at about 3 and it
Mhm.
would end at about 6 or 7, and so they would show like Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Gundam, just very different anime. And I remember as a kid, like thinking, like, wow, this is a lot more cool than, like SpongeBob or just the traditional, yeah, like the traditional Western cartoon.
Yeah.
So I would run home after school every day trying to watch the newest episode of Dragon Ball Z and Yu Yu Hakusho, and that's really how it got started for me. And then when I got to high school, one of my high school teachers, who's actually a co-founder of Noir Caesar, Marcus Johnson, I saw him reading a One Piece manga, and
Ooh.
so I was like, "Hey, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh man, the anime that you watch, they actually make the books for it." And I was like, "Oh no way!" And so that's when I started getting into manga and researching and reading different manga.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. We should all be so lucky to have a mentor like that.
Sure.
So it's an important part of your upbringing. It's like a thing that you're a huge fan of in multiple mediums. You go on to not only hit the American dream of being a professional athlete, then you say, I'm going to make some of these on my own. So, what was the impetus and the inspiration for starting to create your own anime and manga?
So once I got to the NBA, I started, like I said, I was still watching anime, and I just kind of noticed at that time there wasn't a lot of black and brown characters. It wasn't a lot of Western style storytelling. So I was like, it actually started with kind of wanting to create my own anime, right? And so
Mhm.
that was very ambitious, very ambitious. And so once I did my research, talked to some people in the business, I realized that okay, this is very costly and it's probably not going to happen, right? And so I started talking with Marcus about ways to tell stories in a very high quality but cheaper way.
Mhm.
And so we started the publishing company Noir Caesar, and really our main goal was to our main goal was to tell more diverse stories from a point of view that you really don't see in anime
Mhm.
or manga. Obviously most manga and anime is made in Japan, so the creators are Japanese, and so they're telling stories from their point of view, what they see every day, their childhood, and so I wanted to do the same, but take a lot of inspiration in terms of the art style and the world building, and those typical things that you saw in anime, but combine them with a more of a Western style of storytelling.
So just to like get into the weeds of publishing a little bit, you've also done the very modern thing of it started in digital, then it goes to print. Now you've partnered with Tokyo Pop, which I think for so many of us who grew up reading manga, we were like, Tokyo Pop
Yeah.
the king, the emperor, the lord and savior of all things anime. So like what was that trajectory? What was that sort of decision making to start in digital and then now you're literally
Um,
everywhere, accessible all over?
yeah, so we really was just starting because, like I said, we were very indie, very new to the business, and so we were really just trying to get our books out the quickest and the most efficient way, and that was like digital, right? Letting people buy a PDF and read the PDF, and so that was really our first, I guess, initial phase, and then it went from that to okay, let's go to a couple cons, and then at conventions we noticed like we took a couple prints. We might have took a hundred prints of each of our titles, and then we went to these conventions and we sold out. And so we were like, okay, well, I think we got some with the print model. And
Mhm.
so we started doing print ourselves for a little bit, and then I met Stu. I met Stu a while ago, probably back in 2016. Stu
Mhm.
Levy, the owner and founder of Tokyo Pop, and so we just kept in contact. And then think about 2 years ago, our paths crossed again, and we were able to figure out a way for Noir Caesar to collaborate with Tokyo Pop, and so far it's been an amazing experience, man. Those guys do a lot of things when it comes to diversity and just making sure every audience is hit. So it's been amazing so far.
I really appreciate you giving this specific date of 2016 because it sort of illustrates that it takes a long time to get this stuff done, and it takes a long time to get it done the right way or like in a way that you are satisfied by. So, can we jump a little bit into the weeds? I want to talk about
No,
exogenesis with you for a
of course,
second
of
because I love it so much. Here's my like fun story about this.
course.
I do a bunch of theater here in Los Angeles, and
Mm.
we always do like a secret Santa. And once a year, especially when we were doing all digital gifts, like a Noir Caesar collection or bundle was gifted to someone else. So amongst our cast,
Wow.
you
Really?
are like super,
Wow.
super
Wow.
responsible for like a lot of our like shared love. So Exogenesis was the first Noir Caesar book that I ever was gifted in a Secret Santa for Christmas a few years ago. I want to ask about
Wow.
Darius, our lead, of course, because he's like a super, super talented athlete. He has all of these artistic skills. He cares about his family. And the more I've gotten to know you through interviews and through our chat here today, he seems a lot like you, at least on paper. So I wanted to ask how personal his development and his story is for you.
Yeah, Darius is a very near and dear character to me. Obviously, he sits in the back of my office here.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but he definitely was a big inspiration to me. I think Darius um, was a kid that I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to, if you're from Japan or you're from Asia or just somewhere across the world, I wanted you to pick up Exogenesis and hear a story from my point of view. And that's really what I was trying to do with Exogenesis. Darius is, like you said, he's an athlete that kind of grew up in a difficult environment.
Mhm.
Um, and he's was able to kind of manage and grow from that environment. And I think that his physical gifts and tools were able to help him overcome and get out of that environment. And Exogenesis is just a story of a guy like Darius kind of rising through the ranks of a sport that he loves, and on top of that, he has a little bit of artistic ability. He loves to create, and he's just an overall kid dealing with the struggles of growing up, being a professional athlete, what comes with it. As we get into the next volume, you'll see Darius kind of go through the struggles and the depression of like, I've made it now. It's kind of what do you call it? Imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Just going through different things that I think a lot of athletes go through when it comes to mental health and just doubt. The mental strength that it takes to power through as an athlete.
So when you are building the teams who are going to tell these stories, is it similar to trying to build a great sports? I'm trying to do a sports metaphor here. Please bear with me. How do you go about picking like the incredible talent that you have from Exogenesis to like fourth rope, like
Well,
everything under Noir Caesar.
yeah, so we were just fortunate to meet a guy named Nicholas Draper Ivy, who's
Mhm.
right now he's probably one of the most popular artists on social media. And so at the time, um, he was he was an illustrator, really known for his kind of exactly what we were trying to do. He was really known for taking a lot of inspiration from Japan and anime, and then putting his own kind of cultural twist on it. And so we were lucky and fortunate enough to come across Nick at a time where he was still kind of underground, and a lot of people didn't know about him. And so we were fortunate enough to work with him on Exogenesis, which was actually his first comic book project. And so
Oh, wow.
yeah, and so now I think he illustrates Static Shock, and he does a lot of different things with companies. So the guy's super big time now. But we were yeah, we were super fortunate to work with a guy like Nick. And then the guy who also Trey, who helped me, write co-write Exogenesis. So it was just an overall great experience. We all were young and kind of inexperienced in the comic book game. It was it was fun time. So
You say we were young like it's past tense. We all know you're just a cute little 21 years old. I would also love to know how you balance, two incredibly demanding and difficult careers. Are you taking calls and sending emails while you're on planes? How are you making this happen?
That's exactly what I do. So I train like I wake up at 6 a.m., start my training, and I'm trying, normally I'm trying to be done by 12 p.m. and then from 12 p.m. I'm in front of my computer working, sending emails till about 4 o'clock, and then that's when my kids come home, and so then it's time to be a dad, for the rest of the day. And then after they go to bed, I may do a business call or business meeting or finishing touches. But I mean, that's pretty much my day. Is just like, spend about 3/4 training. I mean, spend about 1/3 training, 1/3 business, and then one third just trying to be a family man. So
And then you sleep like in the shower.
yeah, of course, I try to get my 6 to 8 hours in. Sure, sure.
Yeah. A lot of the titles under Noir Caesar are super genre heavy. Like it's a lot of really fun sci-fi and
Mm.
fantasy elements. So, what appeals to you about like science fiction in particular versus maybe a slice of life?
So just growing up, man, I really love like science fiction movies.
Mhm.
Um, I really love like fantasy and heavy action. I guess typical guy, right? But I really love, I really love those things. And so a lot of times as creators, I think as creators we all go through this. So when you're first starting to write or create, a lot of times in your first couple years, you kind of pull a lot of inspiration from what you like, right? You
Mhm.
you're trying to make, oh, I grew up a big fan of this, and I'm trying to interject this into my story, and this is like this power system or this kind of world. And so you see a lot of that early on with a couple of our titles. Just me trying to um, find my way as a creator, or whoever the other writers were on those titles trying to find their way as creators. And so a lot of the stuff that we love really bleed into those titles and the world building. And then the further we go, like with Fourth Rope, title that we have coming out is a wrestling series. And I grew up a really big wrestling fan. With my older brother and my uncles, they would all sit around the TV and excuse me, and yell and shout about they would all sit around TV and yell and shout about who's gonna win and this and
Aw,
that. And so
that's so
I was a kid.
wholesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was a kid, like I was a kid that was like really, really like, enthusiastic about Monday nights because I'm like, okay, wrestling about to come on. And the cool thing about that was like um the characters and the characters in the worlds of it was so brilliant, and those guys were doing a great job with selling themselves. And so with Fourth Rope, it's just our spin on that, but also adding a little bit of intergalactic flavor, a little bit of over the top comedy and action, and just all those things. So yeah.
That's so interesting because, like, when I think of, Premise 7 in particular, the world each of the the islands, each of the areas of that story are so rich, and each of the characters are so rich, but they could also be like a superhero coom wrestling persona. So I want to ask, to get into the weeds a little bit on this, if you had to maybe live on Primordia, which land would you want to live on? Because
So
there,
so you really did your research.
I sure
That's a
did.
great question. So Primordia is basically like Earth. I guess if you combine all 7 continents into one place, right? It'd be Primordia. So
Yeah.
there's like undiscovered lands in Primordia. I think
Go on.
for me, me, I would love to. Honestly, I think Red Cern, the place where it starts, is like a really good place. It's like a melting pot of all the cultures. Like if you think
Mhm.
of, you combine New York and Manila and Tokyo, just all these worlds into one kind of melting pot, you get Red Cern. And I think, I would love to just kind of visit that area, and a lot of different things come from there. So I would love to definitely check that out.
I can't wait until we get the inevitable live action movie adaptation. We can just see you like walking
Mm,
through the background and all of the scenes.
like
Noir,
Stan Lee, right?
yeah. Noir Caesar is a multimedia company. Of course, you talked about starting with like, I want to make an anime. How do we make an anime? We've talked a lot about the comics so far, but tell me about animation and film and what the hopes and dreams and maybe plans are for the future.
Yeah. So what we expanded our stuff. We started Noir Caesar Studios, which is a branch of Noir Caesar, and so we were able to partner with a studio in the Philippines that does a lot of work for Netflix, and they do a lot of work, outsourcing work for company studios in Japan. So they've worked on series like Psychopaths, Naruto, just so many different series they worked on. So we were able to partner with them and then start a branch called Noir Caesar Studios. And so with that, we met our producing partner, a guy named Arsalan, based in Hollywood. Really, really amazing guy. And so he's been helping us expand our television and animation division. And so I can't say a lot, but I think we have about 4 or 5 original titles that are being adapted into either an animated series or a film or a live action TV series. So it's really, really dope. You'll be hearing a lot more about that in the media soon, but we're definitely, we've got our hands in a lot of live action and television. And I think also as a company, um, you really just start with a passion to create.
Hmm.
Um, and then from that, you have to kind of like really learn the business of comics and the business of Hollywood really fast. And that's what we had to do. We really just started as, because it's co-founders, it's myself and then 3 other guys. And so we really just started as passionate kind of anime and manga fans and comic book fans. And then it went from that to like really like, oh, like we have something here, and we really have to start um, taking a lot of business meetings and learning, doing more research and studying and learning about the business of anime and animation in Hollywood. So it's been a fun ride.
That's so exciting. And I hope you will come back and you'll talk to us when we can, when some of those things are out in the world a little bit more, we can pick your brain about the
Sure.
animated live action side, the television side of things. The last question I want to ask you, because I've already kept you longer than I promised, is what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on?
Ooh, like just something in general.
Anything, whatever you're enjoying. Are
So,
you
so
you're
speaking
enjoying?
of sci-fi, yesterday, the company group chat, like one of the co-founders dropped a trailer for the movie The Creators.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
And I saw the trailer and like I was like, wow, like that's a cool story, right? Like it's so um like you could tell the budget was good. They got big name actors. The plot was great. I mean, it's all based on the trailer, right? But it's so in the times because with AI and robots, this stuff being developed, a lot of people worry like, oh, well, someday will the AI turn against us and take over the world? And so it was just from what I saw in that trailer was like really, really cool. It's something I'm excited to see whenever it comes out. Also, the English version of Slam Dunk. movie just
Yes.
dropped in theater, so I have to go see that at some point. Really want to check that out. And then something else. Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. About
Yeah.
things I've been checking out. So I think with those two are just two recent things that got me like really, really excited.
Amazing. Johnny O'Brien, thank you so much for joining us here in the Popverse. And I know we're going to have you again sometime soon.
Thank you for having me. Incredible, incredible podcast.
Thank you. Bye. That was so cool. Like I have no words for how amazing that was. I really, really, really can't wait for Johnny to come back and to be sharing even more of the incredible work that Noir Caesar is up to each and every single day in the world of anime, manga, and so much more. Now, we teased a little bit about some of their upcoming projects, some of the things that they're working on, and I do have a trailer to show you from Noir Studios Entertainment. So buckle up, friends. We're going to check that out right now.